So I want to let you know why Andrea, Laura, and Emanuela are here with us. You have already heard from them earlier today, and just want to let you know why we're going to have these reflections with them and you, of course. So Andrea is a forestry communication expert and project manager at Compagnia della Foreste in Italy. And he's debuting as a filmmaker, and he directed one of the stories you just saw today, the one from Italy, and there are more coming. There are more episodes coming. Emanuela, as you also heard today, she's an indigenous leader from the Dayak people, the first in the island of Borneo, as she just mentioned earlier. And she's also the leader of an indigenous film festival that she has been running for some years already in Kalimantan. And Laura is the coordinator of GLX Nairobi in Kenya, and with years of experience in environmental governance, restoration, and climate change, Laura is passionate about ensuring women, youth, and faith-based organizations involvement with film and storytelling-related initiatives, also being a way of channeling these efforts. So just to start this reflection, I would like to, let me sit here with you. I would like to know what from the films that we just saw stood out for you, and it could be in the narrative, the format, the story, the initiative that we just saw. What does it make you think of your own experience with films and visual storytelling? And for you just to also think a bit about that, because afterwards we would like to hear from you too.
Okay, I can start. And thank you very much for this occasion. And I mean, it's not so easy to speak after all the session of today, because a lot of very interesting things were said. But looking at the film, I think that we can all confirm that a lot of things are happening in the model forest and out of the model forest. And it gives a bit of hope. And another thing that I noticed in watching all the videos of the festival is that this community engagement is already there. And so maybe we need only to link all the dots and to let it grow and grow and, yes, help us in our activities.
Thank you, Andrea. And before going to Laura and Emanuela, I would like to know if anyone from you also would like to tell us, if anyone at any point want to tell us if a film or the set of films also produce any reflections in you, please just let us know. Judith is there with the microphone, just so let her know that you would like also to let us know what these films produce in you. So Emanuela or Laura, please go ahead.
Thanks, Kelly. I think what really stood out for me was from the films, the power of people coming together when faced with challenges, in the face of climate change, in the face of degradation, how people are able to come together. And that also links to the power of resilience and the power of hope that yes, these people are living on the front lines of these issues, but they're not merely victims, they're agents of change. And I think that also just builds up to the power of film as a medium for storytelling, because using film, you feel really connected to them, you feel, it's so different than reading or doing something. You feel quite connected to their stories and you get inspired at the same time.
It can be, films can be like an individual experience, but it also tends to connect you to people. You can experience this together, and then, as we are doing, for example, in this moment, you can really start a conversation after watching a story. So, Emanuela.
For me, what is interesting from all the films, I mean, all is good, but what really resonates with me is the way they tell the stories, because I noticed that in the like videos and films, it used different style of storytelling. And I personally really like the very first video. It's very short, but it's very impactful to me. Yeah, you can clap your hands if you want. Why? Because first, I would say it is narrated by an indigenous little girl with her own voice. From her own perspective, it is said maybe he's like she's not the one that write the script, but it's her. It is made like it's her words, right? Yeah. And then also the visual, I really like because when I watch that, it feels like that's what that little girl saw in her life, and she shared that story to the world. So for me, it's really impactful because that's exactly what I'm doing as well in Kalimantan. So Kelly mentions that how we conducted film festivals for 8 years for now. And it evolved from the small screening into the grand screening, and then Indigenous Film Festival for the regional, and then at the end we have this International Indigenous Film Festival. And also we do trainings actually for indigenous youth to be able to tell their story using films, using videos and using the camera, whatever they want to do, whatever they want to share to the world about their experience. Because I believe that experience is something that cannot be judged by someone else, because that's your experience, that's your truth. And the purpose of the film festival and the training is to provide the place and space and also the tool for indigenous community to feel safe to share their own narrative. So I think that's very powerful and that's very important, because we need to see also the indigenous community, local communities beyond beyond their own stories that portrayed by someone else. I mean, they have the right to share their story in their own style, in their own lens, and in their own narrative according to their experience. I think that's my reflection.
Thank you, Emanuela. And I must say, I have watched, obviously, the films many days in advance. And this morning when Emanuela was talking about her experience in Kalimantan, that first film came to mind. And it's then funny how you saw immediately also the connection with your story now that we saw that film. It was the shortest one, but I also think it has a powerful message and connects also with the rest of, that's like very, kind of very personal. And then we see the development of that message in the other stories when you put in practice the ideas of communities and different, let's say, actors and stakeholders. So I have a couple of questions for you here, but also if you have any questions for Emanuela, Laura, and Andrea, also thinking on the activities that you have done in your communities or are thinking in doing in your communities or with your initiatives, and would like them to guide you also into something that you may want to do, please feel free to ask any questions. Just raise your hand and they can help you with some insights, let's say. So, Andrea, what you were also, what kind of message you were trying to communicate with your film and with the series, because this is the first episode of a series. So what do you really want to communicate beyond the images that we see there and the actors that speak in those short films?
I mean, the one that you saw is the first one of a series of 5 videos. The first one is from Italy. We already done the one from Morocco, and we showcased yesterday during our Med Forum for the first time. And we will be in the next months in Lebanon, in Algeria, and in France to have the other 3 episodes. And yet, what moves out our vision inside this series is that we want to try to communicate, yes, the way, because we talk a lot about restoration, and also we speak a lot about how the model forest is important in improving the impacts and ensure the involvement of the communities. But with this video, we want to stress why this is important. And so looking for stories in the territories that can allow us to understand why the engagement of the communities could lead to better forest and landscape restoration project. This is, I think, the way that we are following in this series of video. And yes, I want to just to connect a moment with the things that you already said, because you both talk about the power of the video, and I mean I'm risk to cite the Uncle Ben from Spider-Man, but from great power comes great responsibilities, and it's clear because if you have the power to bring a message, you need to be sure that the message is valuable, is the right one, because and in choosing the right message and involving the communities is fundamental, because you can share the responsibilities with them, and so you can be together in decide what you want to say, because if you come from outside and you go there and you want to that the people say something, you want to hear something, and there's a huge risk to continue, for example, to go with the stereotypes or go with a bad, let's see, storytelling of the communities of the territories, and so being with the communities when you make a video is fundamental. I mean.
And you can be aware of those nuances of language, for example, that we saw earlier today. So when you build the story and you want to tell someone else's story without really involving or integrating that protagonist within your creation of the story, there are risks that you tell it from a side that might not reflect really with the nuances of language and others what's the real story or the real angle that they would like to present to the world, let's say. So Laura, and you are not a video maker, a filmmaker, but you have used films to channel some messages and convene different stakeholders. Specifically, we had an experience in a film festival with a faith-based message and conversation. So how have you used films to do this?
Like you said, it's mostly been to convene people around a certain message, and specifically what you're referring to was the film The Letter by the Pope, and it was a faith-based film just trying to show trying to bring people together around the Laudato Si encyclical, and I felt that was really a powerful way of bringing together different kind of stakeholders, specifically faith-based actors, around the message of environmental stewardship, around environmental restoration. So I think that's what we've mostly done, just using films to convene people, and this is something that we'll continue to do, and I've been so inspired by the work that Emanuela and Andrea are doing, and really hoping to push this forward and I think the great thing about films is that you can use them to communicate to different audiences of different kinds, different ages, different depending on where they're coming from, but you can really use it. It makes the message simple. It really makes it easy to convene that message. It inspires actions and so on. So that's something that we're hoping to do more with JLFX Nairobi in collaboration with, we have Laudato Si and other actors as well. And now that I've met Andrea and Emanuela here, who knows, maybe we'll be showing them their films as well. Yeah.
Thank you. I have a final question for Emanuela, but if anyone has a question, I'm gladly give myself to, sorry? Okay, so my final question would be if you could just expand a bit on the training that you have been done with indigenous peoples and filmmaking, And with that, we will close, so be attentive to this one. Could help also your initiatives.
Yeah, I would say filmmaking training is a process of self-empowering, because like I mentioned earlier, that's how the indigenous people can have the space where they can freely express themselves through the video, of course, and they are aware that, okay, this will be watched by so many people, unlimited, right? And one thing that I want to highlight here is that, you know, people might have number. I would say, like, let's say researchers, for example, they have numbers, but for the community, they might not have the numbers, but they have the experience that I mentioned. And when they share that to the world, that's very powerful. But somehow people will question that. I mean, like, I have someone come to me and said, be careful and be watchful with what you share about the data that you share. Is it right? I doubt it's right. But we have something that actually it's not just for indigenous people, but so many people know already about it. It's indigenous data sovereignty principles, where indigenous community have the control to make their own data, to produce their own data, and to use that to empowering the community. And this is also the other filmmakers and video makers, I think, should understand. Maybe it's related to what you said about what do you want to say to the world about this community, whether it fits their narrative or your own narrative, right? So indigenous data sovereignty principle is very important. And that's something that we teach to our indigenous young filmmakers. Even for young people. For young people, sometimes they have to relearn again about what is necessary, what needs to be documented, what is the sacred one that you do not need to record on the camera. And be mindful that whatever that you share to the world, to digital platform in form of audiovisual, people will see it as it is, right? So, and people might have different interpretation, and that's fine. But you share your experience, you share your own story. So that's something that I feel really powerful for us in Kalimantan, especially because we see that as a process, first self-empowering and self-discovering, and second is for the community. Because whenever we show the films that made by the indigenous filmmakers or the community, or let's say villagers, they saw themselves in the screen and say like, ah, that's me, oh, that's your niece, oh, that's your mother. And the community becomes very empowered because in their subconscious, they know that they are heard, right? They are being heard. That's very powerful. And also, I would like to mention about the impact of the films and videos that we use. I mean, so many people will ask, when I say like, I train the filmmakers, indigenous filmmakers, they will ask the very first thing, from where you get your budget? How do you get the budget for films? Actually, I was surprised at the time why people always ask about the budget for the first thing, not like what films that you want to make, what kind of stories that you want to tell. They ask about the budget first. So this is something also that for us challenging, but for the indigenous filmmakers that we train, we always say, people make film because they have budget. We make films because we have stories. So that's something that we need to always engrave in our mind and heart, that we have stories and these stories are worth to be heard by the global audience.
Thanks a lot. So thank you. With that, we close the festival in person. But as we said before, you can find these films and others and the full and only feature film we have in the festival on the website. And thank you for this lovely Tuesday, and see you tomorrow. Thank you.